You're listening to The Edge of Reckoning. I'm Sue.
And I'm Neil.
And this is a podcast about navigating life's turning points with awareness, honesty, and heart.
We're two Gen X friends exploring what it means to meet change with open eyes and an open mind.
Thanks for being here. Let's begin.
Welcome back to The Edge of Reckoning. I'm Neil.
And I'm Sue. So far, Neil, we've explored what happens when life forces us into change. The cracks in our stories, living on autopilot, the rupture of identity, and navigating uncertainty. We land in a place with no clear answers and a self-image that no longer fits.
Our instinctive reaction to emotional pain is usually immediate judgment. We decide whether it's a threat, and we quickly spin it into a new story to justify how we reacted to that situation. But it's precisely this extra layer, the narrative that we create, that can transform your pain into deeper suffering over a long period of time.
We're not offering you a quick fix. Sorry, folks. Instead, we're inviting you to relate differently to your experiences. Let me say that again. We're inviting you to relate differently to your very own experiences by understanding how your mind works. What? So we're going to explore how to catch your feelings, how to catch your triggers as they arise, and giving you the choice of whether you're going to create tomorrow's new drama.
So in this episode, it's about noticing the raw moment, the sensations that you have, the thoughts that pop in your head, the emotions that come with them, without immediately labeling them, without spinning them a story to justify them as being good or bad. So let's dive in on some of this.
We definitely talk a lot about awareness or mindfulness. So I think let's take the time right now to define what exactly is awareness.
Do you know, when you're driving your car and you've been on the road for a long time and you just completely zone out, and one moment suddenly you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I'm driving the car, and you see the road, you see the steering wheel, you see everything, like it's so clear. To me, that's kind of awareness. It's noticing what's here, what's happening right in this second. But it's not just what you're thinking about or seeing, it's all the sensations in your body, all the thoughts that are going through your mind, the emotions that are swirling in your heart. They all become like objects in your consciousness. These objects, they just exist, but we tend to judge them. We don't need to judge them as being good or bad, safe or threatening. They just are, and that's kind of what we're striving for. It's not to judge them.
Okay. So judgment is labeling. It's saying like, this is awful. I can't handle this. Do these things sound familiar? I hate this, or I like that, different things like that. So awareness is bringing your attention simply like noticing my chest feels tight, or I just noticed that thought. It's almost like an out of body experience when it's truly an inner body experience, but it's putting yourself kind of in that third person, right, like Elmo does. Elmo feels hungry, right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's like becoming a witness of the things that are happening in your world. It's like you're almost removing yourself ever so slightly. That's kind of a skill that you need to develop. What kinds of things have you done to try to get in that kind of mindset?
So I like to start externally because I feel like it's a good um, entryway into the internal. So start outside and then bring it back inside. So one of the little activities I like to do is start noticing things. So pick one thing in your environment for you to notice, and that could be a red car. And then you'll notice that once that's on your radar, you'll start seeing all the red cars. Or if you just bought a new car, all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many of these cars. I did this with a butterfly example, and I just like, I'm going to start noticing all the butterflies. And there's just so many butterflies everywhere all the time. So it's bringing that awareness. So when you can start recognizing things outside of you, guess what? You can also recognize things inside of you. It's a little more of a challenge, but we'll talk a little bit about how to do that.
Yeah, it seems like those moments when you're trying to become aware, are clouded, at least mine are, by like what I've experienced about that thing in my past. So I use that as kind of a filter. And so when I'm looking at something, oh, I've seen that type of chair before, I've seen that color house, whatever it might be. But what I'm doing is applying principles of my past experience as opposed to kind of seeing it with a fresh approach. And
Mm.
so by just becoming aware that the thought has entered my mind is kind of the first step. I think most people practice this through forms of meditation, and that could be a whole other episode unto itself, how that actually can help you. But at the very least, just opening your eyes just a little wider,
Mm.
expanding your vision out peripherally to see everything, or to take time to just recognize that, wow, I feel something, an emotion that's happening inside of me. We tend to like over identify when we have emotions rise up. And what we're trying to do is not do that, not make the emotion become who we think we are.
Right. And I like that shifting from I am sad to I feel sadness.
There is a difference.
There is a difference. Do you find it I find it so much easier noticing these things in other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not in yourself because you got your
Uh,
own patterns, right?
so if I think you can apply what you're noticing in other people, it's starting to get that mind going to say, "Oh, let me see if I can find this in myself." Because
Nice.
it's just a it's kind of like a another way to look at noticing things a little more.
So in popular culture, mindfulness has kind of exploded in probably the last decade or so, right?
Yeah.
It has all sorts of connotations attached to it, similar to just how we think about everything. We bring something to it when we hear that word mindfulness. Mindfulness is awareness. It could also just be just attention or intention. It could be all those things. They're just terms ultimately for being conscious,
Yeah.
being awake, so that you recognize, wow, I just felt pain, or I felt sadness, or I had this thought that just keeps reoccurring in my brain. Do I have to have that thought right now? Is it actually serving me? Um, it's a skill that and a muscle that takes time, I think, to develop.
And I think even starting small, I don't think because we went through some major pivots, and I'm
Right?
thinking the people listening to this might have also, and maybe pivoting at the same time as us. So that's a big noticing. That's a big ask, right? And
Hmm.
we're looking at this as small little examples in your day-to-day life to help build that muscle. Like you're not going
Yep.
to go to the gym and just lift up a 200-pound dead weight, right? You're
Sure.
going to start with like 10 or 15 pounds, or in my case, 3 or 5 pounds. But so we're starting small, and that's those are the examples we want to present today is like how to start to exercise that mindfulness muscle in your brain by increasing your awareness of things around you and the way you're reacting and responding to different stimulus and different emotions that might come up into your body.
Can I ask you this? Does this make you overthink? Does it make you like, does awareness have a byproduct that is difficult to navigate because you're like assessing everything over and over? Or is it really negated because you need to really understand that you have to get the judge out of your head so that you don't get trapped in that loop?
I think it's exerting the same amount of energy as if you didn't think about it. You're something, there's still a byproduct
Hmm.
of the emotion. There's still going to be something on the other side of that. The moment happens, there's an emotion, and then what? So it's either become using that energy as becoming more aware or using that energy to whatever you're creating. So I don't think it's a new extra overthinking thing. I
Hmm.
think it's just reframing where you're going with it.
Or just being aware that thoughts are there
Yeah. And
to
probably
start with,
less energy, right?
right?
Less thinking. You're nipping it in the bud, as I like to say.
Before you have a reaction to whatever is going on inside your head, right?
But I think originally at first it's going to take, yeah, a little bit of muscle.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. There's kind of a thought that we had explored was looking at this cycle basically. You mentioned that something happens, you have an emotion, and then you kind of judge it and how it fits in with the world. If you can imagine for a moment that you spent the last 3 days like working on a major project and you printed it out because we didn't have computers back then, and you have this paper document, and then on the way to work you decide to stop by this coffee shop and you order your latte, and you get the cup, and the barista puts a cap on the top, and you go sit down at your table, and as you sit down and you're pulling out your paper, the top of your cup pops off and a bunch of your coffee latte spills over your paper.
Mm.
And in that moment, you're so pissed. You cuss. You look at the barista and you start to give him, your mind. Why didn't you put this top back on? Well, look what you've done to my paper. I have to present this. Oh my God, what's going to happen? My boss is going to think I'm a loser because there's coffee all over this paper. I'm going to lose my job. Oh my God, if I don't have my job, I'm going to lose my house. And this spiral takes off. That's all the thinking, because my reaction to that moment of like uncomfortable dissonance when the paper I had no longer looks the way it needs to. I now have this reaction where I spiral, I blame it on other people, and then I go and I see how this is going to destroy my life, and I get stuck in this endless loop.
Mm.
I would assume that you've had something like this happen to you at least once.
Were you with me this morning on my way to work?
Yeah, ain't that the truth, isn't it?
This didn't happen to me today, but yeah, of course, like these things happen. And when you are more aware of like where in that scenario could you have stopped before it got to that point? And then also, so this has happened to me one way or another. And then the outcome isn't the outcome that I told myself was going to happen, right? I
Hmm.
didn't lose my job, I didn't lose my house, and nobody even cared. And the stain kind of just faded away and it wasn't a big deal. Um, so we tell ourselves this story, we create something bigger than it is
Hmm.
and give it so much energy. And so we're carrying around this like big angry ball with us and like it's getting in our way. We can't even communicate with anybody for the next like 2 hours because we're just like, oh, I'm so angry. And what is that doing? Like, what is that serving? And then it doesn't even matter, right?
So then you get home later that afternoon and you're sitting down with your partner and you start to retell the story about how the barista didn't put the cap on the darn coffee and you spilled it all over. And so you retell the story, and in the process of retelling the story, you just basically inflicted more pain because you got really angry as you retold it.
Right.
And so that process of like the retelling of it actually doubled the pain, and you just self-inflicted it,
Right.
right? So how that's like a really important balance. But how do you like get in that moment where this stuff happens and you have a reaction and you're trying not to have it? Like how do you find that space to slow down enough to stop? Where, like you said, where is that moment in the story? I just spilled my coffee. Is it like right at that moment?
But so yeah, so let's look back at the story. So you get to the table, and you spill it, and then you could do many things. You could laugh at yourself,
Yeah.
which I tend to do now. Like I just
Hmm.
like find humor and I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
Like up. But do you say like, oh, of course this is gonna happen to me, right? Do you still self-degradate? Or
Hmm.
I never blame people. That's a big thing though. People are so good at like, this is their
Finding the
fault, blame it on
reason
me.
outside of themselves.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's much easier to do that. So if you stopped right there and just kind of chuckled and got a paper towel and took care of it and just sat down. Um, You would have saved yourself
Mm.
such turmoil.
But I'm having this moment where I'm angry and panicking.
Right. So
It's really hard. So let's say I can't do that. I think I have an opportunity still to find a way to suffer less. The next time the story comes up in my mind, I have another opportunity to reframe it, don't I?
exactly. Yeah. So it's looking at it with that hindsight. If you can go back through your day, I call this like take an inventory at the end of your day. Like what happened to me today? Did I like the outcome? If this happened to me tomorrow, how could I do it differently? And just bringing
Mm,
your awareness to even like the good things that happen to you, not just the bad things. Like I had a great conversation today with somebody on the bus, like a random person, or
hmm.
I enjoyed seeing this beautiful flower when I was walking my dog. Take
Right.
inventory of absolutely everything that you can. This is a really good practice to do at the end of your day. And you can just write it down in a notebook or you can voice memo on your phone.
Hmm.
It's like, oh, these are the really good things. And these are the things I didn't really like the way I reacted or responded to somebody today. How could I change it? And then you get to go to sleep and
Mm,
wake up and you have a clean day and you can say, if this presents itself to me today, what I'm going to try it. Like I'm so excited for something to pop up for me the
mm,
next day to put into practice. And then the next day, somebody spills their coffee on me. How am I going to react? Right? Like,
hmm.
oh, remember yesterday that threw off my entire day. Maybe today I'm going to try something different. Maybe you won't. Maybe the end of tomorrow you write another reflection.
Right.
And I think reflection is huge for awareness.
Yeah, because sometimes you're not going to get it right off the bat because you've been trained to assess your world pretty darn quick. That's survival skill, right? But some of those survival instincts no longer serve you. And so just taking a breath, just a simple, like, heavy sigh if you need to, sit your butt down, clean off the copy, and then deal with it. But it doesn't have to be made worse by having a pity party. You think about a kid when something goes wrong when they're like 5 years old and how they react. There's no filter. They just freak out and go on the floor and start crying. Sometimes we still feel like that, like just have a complete hissy fit. Those are real, real emotions, but you don't necessarily have to like respond to them. It's really that split second between like having the event, like spilling the coffee, and then creating the story. The story happens right when you have your reaction. Now it's burned into who you are, and the process kind of begins of trying to justify it. The key for me, and probably one of the biggest revelations, was to let go of really determining if that event was good or bad. Because you never know, that bad event could eventually turn out to be something pretty cool.
Right. Do you think it's ever warranted to be okay to react like that? Like there's ever, I'm just thinking because I reacted this week and I was going to share this, like what happened to me in this
Yeah.
moment, being completely open because I'm like this super Zen calm person. And then, so here's my example, and we
Right.
can cut this out if we want to, but um, so I was walking in the park with my dog and somebody left an entire bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken next to, oh, okay. So I was walking my dog in the park and someone left an entire bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken next to the trash bin on the ground.
Did you eat it?
No, but my dog went in, course. Like I
Oh, of
didn't
course.
think
Blah,
it
blah,
would
blah,
be a
blah.
whole full, like those are expensive, first of all, right? But what? So dogs can't eat chicken bones, right?
Hmm.
She went right in. Of course, she grabs the biggest piece. I don't know if somebody's coming back for this. Like, why is it on the
Right.
ground?
You stole
And
my chicken.
I lost it because I'm like, this is gonna kill my dog. And I'm like, who did this? I'm looking around like, is this somebody's? chicken? Like, you
Hmm.
don't leave, there's dogs everywhere. I'm like, who did this? And there's no one around. And I was just screaming like a crazy lady. Like, and I'm trying to get the chicken out of my, and it's like, tastes, looks really good, actually, and I'm like, but I lost my cookies in that moment because I couldn't believe that this was happening. And I was like, is this common, cool, and collective behavior? Not at all. And I wanted to like seek the person who did this and cause them some harm. But my dog was fine, so it ended up.
Well, that's good. Thank goodness. I heard that later the homeless person walked up and found the chicken was pretty pumped that the chicken was there.
Well, the breast that she ate, I was gonna put it back in the, but I didn't. I threw it away.
Oh, that's
And
good.
then I took the bucket and I put it on top of the wall that was right there, so nobody
So
else,
it's easier reach for the homeless guy to eat
and less for the dogs.
and less for the dogs.
But like
Yeah.
my reaction was scary to me, even because I was like,
You had no pause in between what happened and your emotion. Rage does that a lot when you get rage, right?
yeah, I guess it was a form of rage and anger and like scare. I was so scared my like she was gonna eat this and die.
Right. Oh my goodness, man. All these things that we're talking about are ultimately learning how to be present, looking with peripheral vision, maybe mindfulness as well. They're all like tools that ultimately allows us to deal with some of the small annoyances that come through life. But these small annoyances that happen, the process that we use to understand them are the same processes that can be used when something really huge happens. And really it comes down to feeling that feeling that's inside your body, looking at where it is, seeing it as an object, and then finding a way to like just let it be, just let it be, and eventually you'll find reason to understand why it's there in the first place. But that takes time and that takes a little bit of patience. Ultimately, we're trying to avoid creating a story out of the deal that's just going to reinforce more of that suffering.
Yeah, and I think gradually you'll notice the more that you can like observe your reactions, you'll notice the emotional sensation in the moment. So that would allow for more space for a more conscious
Mm,
response instead of that automatic turmoil. Because I mean, I felt my heart racing, like all those the things in your body start like the adrenals, everything's like pumping, and I'm like,
yeah,
and I'm not mad at any. I mean, I'm mad at some random person I don't even know who, but it's
yep. But that illustrates how much your emotions are tied to your physical structure, your makeup of your body,
oh yeah.
and how you feel emotions in that body. And that's ultimately what can sometimes make you sick if you don't know how to deal with that stress, right? It seems like the greater the emotional response you have to a situation, the more likely you are to attach memories to it, right? And attach a story to it.
Having self-reflection, and that's the first step in like identifying your awareness, is being able to be honest with yourself and identify what it is that triggered you and what the emotions are that you're feeling, like naming that emotion.
Naming that emotion, that is just so true. And that it because it turns it into an object. And it allows it just enough time to separate yourself from it, right?
All right, so to recap here, remember that cultivating awareness of how emotions and thoughts flow helps reduce the suffering during major life pivots. Emotions will happen, stories will form, but you don't have to relive them over and over and over.
Yeah. We filter our world through like layers of past conditioning. Does this fit? Will it bring pain? Will it bring joy? We judge it. Maybe it does both. But what if we simply like accepted experiences as they are, just embracing them with curiosity rather than judgment? A really hard thing to do, but it could be one of the keys to allow us not to suffer.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try it more. So next time we're going to explore how these small mindful choices can transform into lasting habits, and it will give us a renewed sense of self.
Until then, just notice, breathe, and then make a choice. See you next time.